there's a lot of stuff we got to go over, kind of getting ready for the season, talk about what happened in the offseason, what's going to be happening going forward in the next 6 months. I guess the first thing that has been the big story is Michael Young, right? This story of Michael Young asking to be traded, that he hates John Daniels, calling out John Daniels in the media, and then the Rangers essentially saying, "Shut up, you're going to play DH." John, what do you think? How's this all played out? What's your perception of the situation?
I felt the same way from the beginning. We heard this a couple years ago when Elvis Andrus came in, that Michael Young didn't like it, that he wanted to be traded, that he wasn't happy. But we didn't hear about it as much as we're hearing this about it. Well, now we've got 4 or 5 beat writers covering the Rangers. They all want to tell us about Michael Young not being happy. They're going to put it on their blogs. It's going to be on the website. The team's website's going to pick it up, and then all of us are going to talk about it. So I think it's been made a much bigger deal than it is. I don't think he's happy, but he's a professional. He's going to come in every day. He's going to get his at-bats, and he's going to do his job wherever he's at. And I think after this year, he's probably going to get traded or move along.
How many more years do you have on his contract?
He's got 3
more.
So Josh, we're talking about those at bats. They're talking about moving the DH. They've talked about getting some time at first base, kind of as a utility infielder, doing whatever he needs to do. Are you okay with that role when he's making $13 million, $16 million, however you want to count it?
Coming from a fan's perspective, I would say as long as he produces on the field, I'm a happy camper and a happy season ticket holder. As it stands right now, since we have our catching situation pretty much solidified with Torrealba starting and Napoli basically being back up and playing at first, that basically locks up the DH for Young. He might not agree to it, but from what I've seen from him this spring, I think he's going to come into the season scorched earth, and he wants to basically max out any stats that he can to not only up his trade value, but to also prove to not just himself but the club as well that he can still be an everyday player no matter what.
Joe, you've been following this team for over a dozen years now. Is this Michael Young situation the biggest distraction the Rangers have had to face going into a season, or is it just another blip on the radar?
Nah, I wouldn't call it the biggest distraction, because when you say that, you start thinking, well, what other have there been?
Yeah.
It's like sale of the team and whatnot. And no, I don't think it's the biggest distraction. It really, to me, honestly, other than people telling me it should be a distraction, it hasn't really been a distraction. It's like we thought about it and saw that video of him coming in the clubhouse the first time, hugging all the players and having his JD with a red circle with a line through it. No, he didn't have that.
That was Derek Collins' t-shirt, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, I don't think it's a huge distraction, at least not to me anyway.
So with the Rangers, the story is always, okay, they're going to hit, but how's the pitching going to be? And once again, we go into the season with some question marks there. Let's talk about one of the biggest question marks, starting from when he was signed all the way to now, and that's Brandon Webb. John, we shouldn't really expect anything from him. He's coming off a couple years of injury-plagued seasons. He really hasn't pitched at all in the major leagues for a couple of years, especially not effectively. If we get 3 starts from him that are quality, are you going to be happy?
Yeah, I'm going to be happy. I think, gosh, we were talking about this earlier on our ride down to Round Rock, is that he's Rich Harden Part 2. We're not expecting a ton out of him, but if we can get the Cy Young potential out of him, even just for 10 games started, maybe get 5 wins for us. The ground ball picture that he is just phenomenal if he is Brandon Webb.
The difference between Webb and Harden, though, is Harden started in the rotation and he was counted on, and Webb really isn't.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, on Rangers Fan Radio the other night, I was talking with the guys who do the show, and they said, who's got the most value? And Brandon Webb's got no value to me, Josh. To me, he's nothing right now. If he shows up and pitches, it's just like us calling up a minor leaguer and he makes his first start. I'm not anticipating anything.
He's definitely one of the biggest question marks, I think, going into this season, just because you don't know if you're going to get a guy that's going to be injured after 1 start, or a guy that can actually do a long haul of 5, 6, or maybe even 10 starts. The ceiling, I think, for any standard Ranger fan would be 10 starts. If we can get that out of him, then he's basically done the service that we wanted him to do. Whether or not he's going to make those incentives in his contract is, that's completely on the side plate right now. What we want is a guy that can come in once he's healthy, prove that he's healthy, and can sustain that. Even if it's a 5-inning pitch, a 5-inning outing, or a 6 or 7-inning outing, as long as we know he can stand on the mound through 3 months out of the season, I'm going to be satisfied.
Absolutely. And Joe, it's one of those things where when he's healthy, he's the kind of pitcher the Rangers love. Power sinker guys who don't get a lot of fly balls up in the jet stream. Do you think the Rangers signed him with the intention of thinking he was going to pitch, or was it kind of one of those things where, you know, we got $3 million, it's okay. If he pitches, great. If he doesn't, then okay.
Yeah, I don't think there was expectation that he's going to make 18, 19, 20 starts. It's just throw it against the fan and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ground ball obviously plays well here, but no, I don't think there was expectation of that many starts. So it's just one of those see what you have, more of an insurance thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a $3 million insurance policy. That's pretty good, especially with a guy that you know has a track record of being as good as Brandon Woodson.
We've certainly thrown away more money than that on
how much
other guys.
How much did we pay Rich Harden a year ago? 6, 7,
7, 8, something like that.
With incentive.
We paid him that much to strain his butt muscle.
And now he's hurt himself in Oakland again too.
Exactly. You can't help it. You can't help it hurt.
Is this the most pitchers we've had on our supposed starting day, pitching staff with Tommy
13?
John surgery? Or just
yeah,
pitchers
with
with actual
CJ.
Tommy John surgery? You got CJ,
Probably.
you got Mason Tobin,
Yeah.
who is now officially part of the pitching staff, and now Brandon Webb.
So let's talk about, that's the biggest acquisition on the pitching side of things. Let's talk about the biggest acquisition in the field, which I'd have to say is Adrian Beltre, right?
Yeah, definitely.
6 years, $96 million, assuming he gets to the full extent of his contract. John, I mean, he solidifies third base. He provides a consistent bat, which is something that we didn't get from Vlad Guerrero last year, kind of a tale of 2 seasons for him. What do you think Adrian Beltre's impact is going to be for the Rangers in 2011?
I think it's going to be good. I think he'll break 100 RBIs. He's definitely really secure at his defensive position. I really had to take off my Michael Young goggles to make it, you know, something that I was happy with. But watching the spring training and his stats, and hopefully every year is a contract year for him. But you know, they say he's only good in the contract year, and Lone Star Ball and other sites have kind of disproven that to a degree. But I think he's good. I like him so far. I'm ready to cheer him on and hope he takes us far.
So Josh, I'm going to give you a scenario. I want to get your response. You've got Elvis Andrus at shortstop, Adrian Beltre at third base. That defense, how good is it going to be?
No, you can actually throw in Kinsler there too. Defensively speaking, I expect a big bounce back year for him, especially compared to 2010. I think the biggest thing, a lot of people have already kind of dubbed Texas's infield as probably the best defensive infield in the American League, and on paper, I don't think you can argue against that. I think the biggest thing about the Beltre signing is that with the hitters that we already have here, with Cruz, Kinsler, and Hamilton, you literally have 4 possible MVP candidates now in this hitting lineup, and that's a pitcher's worst nightmare.
Oh yeah.
So Joe, you're kind of a player number guy.
Yep.
Considering what Adrian Beltre is going to be wearing, talk about some of the other famous Rangers he has to stack up against.
Famous Rangers wearing just his number?
Wearing just his number.
Well, that would be Rusty Greer.
So I hope you were going with that.
Well, I mean, do you really want me to talk about Wood? I mean, he wore 29 too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, consider it though. I mean, it's Rusty Greer. I mean, he's one of those hallowed Rangers.
Yeah,
that fans
Rusty
will always
Greer is
adore.
also, I think a lot of where Rusty Greer comes from is that he was homegrown, and he wasn't the let's go bring in the big dollar contract with Scott Boras. I'm not sure if he's a Boras guy or not,
Yeah.
but no, comparing him to Rusty is kind of hard because it's 2 different animals. Rusty is the homegrown guy that bangs himself up against the walls, and Beltre is the play for hire guy who doesn't like to wear a cup. So
Yeah. Which I think is totally ballsy.
yeah, it is.
Thank you.
isn't
Thank
it?
you. Be here all night.
Did you hear the story behind that? That Ken Griffey Jr. got him to play the Nutcracker Suite when
Yep.
he was at bat?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think
No, I hadn't heard that. That's pretty funny.
I think one of the most interesting things about the Beltre signing too is that he's performing in probably one of the most popular spots on the field in Rangers history. He's going to go up against names like Rodriguez, Michael Young, and you know what? He was a favorite of mine when I was younger. Dean Palmer at third.
Yeah,
I
I love
loved
Palmer.
watching him play.
Hank Blaylock.
Blaylock. I mean, there's names galore at that position.
Where do you go
he's
further
gotta,
back?
He's got to compete.
Joe can go further back.
Yeah.
A little bit further back.
We got what's
Pass.
his name? Who's coaching the AA team at Frisco?
Oh,
Bouchel?
Yeah,
Bouchel.
Steve Bouchel.
Stevie, yeah.
No, wait.
Great-
Bouchel.
Bouchel. Oh, come on. So we've kind of gone through the team. Let's talk just generally about what's going to happen this year. Expectations. Okay, so obviously
162-0.
exactly. That's what we are right now, right?
We're in first place
We're
right
in
now
first
as
place.
we speak.
undefeated.
So last year the team, I think we could probably admit, overachieved a bit, more than what we expected starting the year, making the American League Championship, winning the American League Championship, making it to the World Series, unfortunately falling to that team from San Francisco. This year, obviously, I think it's got to be playoffs and a playoff series win or bust, right? Or do you feel differently?
Well, right. What are we going to be happy with as Ranger fans for so long? Since '99, we hadn't been in the playoffs, and now we've got this World Series fever. For me personally, as a fan, I'm going to be happy if we get 90+ wins. We can make it into the playoffs. I'm not expecting the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, Boston has a phenomenal team this season. If they can stay healthy, they're definitely going to compete. I look for them to get in the playoffs and maybe win it, make it back to the ALCS. But I'll be happy with a playoff berth for sure.
Josh, I'll take your season prediction and what you'll take as a minimum amount of success for the Rangers this year.
The biggest challenge that the Rangers have this season is not falling into what I call the Tampa Bay scenario, where they make the World Series and the next season they don't even make the playoffs. If they can sustain, number one key no matter what in any organization in Major League is health. As long as you can keep the majority of your rotation healthy and the majority of your big bats, i.e. Hamilton, Cruz, Kinsler, and everybody else healthy, and they can play at least minimum 130 to 140 games this season, maintain the numbers or even build upon the numbers that they had from last season, sky's the limit. AL West should be a lock, I would hope, unless I fear the A's, as weird as it is to sound. I think a lot of people have put the Angels on the back burner right now just because there's too many question marks and too many injury concerns. Lord only knows who's playing first base for them on opening day. Yeah. So I would say AL West for sure, and Division Series win for sure.
Joe, it was an exciting year last year. You've got your World Series cap on now.
Is that the right side? I can't tell.
Yeah. So what do you expect this year, and what do you think you'll take if the Rangers end up falling short?
Falling short of World Series win?
Exactly.
Okay. Obviously, I think we'd all love it if they got back there again.
Absolutely.
It's hard to quantify that because I've always fancied myself as the guys, even when the team is like 50 and 110, I still go out there and have fun and support it. So It's like, it's hard to do that. I guess I go with him. It's like, at least a DLCS. But even if they get there and get blown out, I'm still going to, hey, they got to the playoffs again. So it's hard for me to quantify that. I mean, you've read my site. I could go off on a tangent on any time and go, oh, I'll change my mind when they get to the playoffs and get blown out. But
yeah, exactly.
No, I'd say if you really want me to straight up answer the question, I'd say probably at least a Division Series win at minimum. As long as it's not to the Yankees, man.
Exactly.
Oh,
we don't
man.
talk about losses to the Yankees.
Well, I don't.
This is one of those seasons where you definitely could see maybe more than one, even maybe more than 200-game winners in the AL this year. Yeah, that's a scary part about it. Boston. I don't want to say New York's guaranteed for 100, but with them you never know what you're going to get, and with the trading deadline and there's a lot of names that could be unloaded at that time. It's a scary situation. I think the Rangers need to. Nolan's not going to pull another. We're going to win 97. I would think if he had a ceiling this season, it would probably be something around 92 or 93 wins. And for me as a fan, that's perfect. That's fine.
Absolutely, yeah. And for me, I think it's it's always about getting to the playoffs. Win the division, get to the playoffs, and it's about who's playing the best when you get there. And anybody can win a series. And with the Rangers, I don't even think it's going to take 92 wins to win the division. I think we're probably sitting at like 85 or 84 wins to win the division, and I think it's going to be packed. I think it's going to be closer than it was last year, but I certainly think the Rangers are going to make the playoffs and hopefully make it all the way to the World Series and win again. I think Joe would be very happy if we had a Rangers-Phillies World Series.
My head would explode, man.
I want Cliff in Game 7.
Oh,
Cliff in Game 7
at home.
Well, that's not why, because me being from Philly, it's like, what do I do with Philly Rangers? So
it'll be fun. So, anyways, that's it for the Chevy Line Drive to Round Rock. This is John Callender from Nolan Writing.
It's Nolan, WRITIN.com. We're right inside the blog.
Nolan
Writing.
Get the other one too, so you can forward it. You don't have to worry about spelling.
There you go.
Josh McMurray from the Daily Moment of Zen.
Daily Moment of Zen at Tumblr, and you can also follow me on the Irish P1 at Lone Star Ball along with Patrick.
And Joe Siegler, from Ranger Fans.
RangerFans.com.
Established in
1998.
Absolutely. And I am Patrick McCullough from RangersFanRadio.com. It's been great to be here on the Chevy Line Drive to Round Rock. Go check us out and check out more Chevy stuff at DrivingTheHeartland.com.